Armed mob whose faces were painted black suddenly rushed the jail. The guards put up a token resistance as the mob rushed past them and up the stairs. A shower of musket balls hit the door. Joseph's brother Hiram was hit first and fell dead with a bullet in his face. 4 balls hit Joseph. He fell through the window to the mob below.
The rest of the jail was used as the jailer's residence. Well, the jail is just like it was, except the family had it. As their home, like I told you, from 1871 to 1903. And then the church did restore it like it was originally.
So all the windows are the same?
Oh yeah, the windows are the same. Browning's added windows. Now this is the summer kitchen, and in this little kitchen, it was cooler to cook in summer than at a fireplace in the jail. All of the artifacts you see are part of the 1840 period. The tools were donated by the people of Carthage, so you could see the kind of tools that were used to build the jail. This summer kitchen, when the Brownings had it as a home, they took the summer kitchen off, moved the jailer's bedroom, and from that window on the 27th of June 1844, the prophet Joseph fell to his death with 4 bullets in his body, and he died near the old well. When the Brownings had it as a home, they took the top off of the old well and filled it up with dirt. When the church restored it, they had to dig down more than 19 feet to find the old well, and then they restored it.
Aaron?
Peace, he said, and to protect the prisoners. Would you like to go into the living room? This is the family living room, and at that fireplace, Mrs. Stegall, the jailer's wife, cooked many of the meals for her family and for the prisoners. The jail is very well built. The walls, as you'll notice how thick the windows are, their walls are 32 inches thick. The woodwork is all original. It is hardwood. The floors are hardwood, and the rugs are made by the Deseret industry, so you could see the type of rugs that were used at that period of time. The old Compargan and the sewing machine are part of the 1840 period. These mannequins represent the guards on duty at the time of the martyrdom. If you have any questions as we go along, I'll try and answer them. This is the debtor's cell. Your piece of the floor is up so you can see the joist in the floor, how well it's filled. I think you can all get in. When a man came to prison, for instance, if he owed $20, couldn't pay it, he was put in jail, and he could work it off at the rate of $1 a day. The county paid for his meals. When Joseph and Hiram came to Carthage, they first spent the night in the Hamilton Hotel, and then were brought over here. They were arrested on trumped-up charges of treason. And though Joseph and Hiram were the only 2 arrested, 8 other men from the Nauvoo city county on the floor with the straw on the floor. So the next morning, the jailer, out of kindness, took them up to his own bedroom. The jailer had a lot of empathy for them. He believed in their innocence. He treated them more like guests than prisoners, and they ate with his family many times. This Hamilton house was a hotel in downtown Carthage, and it was It isn't there now, but to this Hamilton Hotel after the martyrdom, the bodies of Joseph and Hiram were taken. Mr. Hamilton built some crude caskets for them, and then they were taken back to Nauvoo the next day. John Taylor, who was severely wounded, spent about 5 days there before his wounds were healed sufficiently to travel back. So the only means of light and ventilation here was two slits in the walls. And you can imagine how dark it would be. The walls were not finished, they were just a crude rock, and the ceiling was just a crude logs as you see it. When Browning had it as their home, they had taken out the jail cell because he had made a bedroom out of it. And so when the church restored it, they put the jail cell back in. When Joseph and Hiram came to Carthage, 8 other men from the Nauvoo City Legion were with them, and the jailer first followed 10 of them up here. Then he changed his mind and took them down to that lighter cell where they had air and were ready to wait. Okay, if you'd like to come out to the jailer's bedroom. The 26th in this room, they represent John Taylor, who was an apostle and a printer and publisher in Nauvoo. Dr. Willard Richards, he was an apostle, and he was 40 years old. John Taylor was 35. He was 40, and he was secretary and historian to the prophet. Hiram Smith, who was the brother of the prophet, who was 44 years old, and he was patriarch of the church, and Joseph Smith, who restored the gospel of Jesus Christ, and who was its president and also the mayor of Nauvoo at the time. And that afternoon, as you saw in the film, the window was open. It was a very hot day, and as they sat here and looked out of the window and saw these mob of about between 1,500 and 150 and 200 rushing toward the jail, they came to the door, and this is the original door, and braced themselves against it. They closed it. The lock was broken. They closed it and braced themselves against it. And of course, their musket balls went through, and the door was forced open. This is the hole through which the musket ball went that killed Hiram Smith. The prophet Joseph received 2 bullets from the stair and 2 from the outside, and he went through the window and fell to his death near the old well. John Taylor was severely wounded. He received 4 bullets, 2 from the in and 2 from the outside. One hit a watch in his vest pocket, smashing it to pieces, which probably saved his life, and he rolled under the bed. When Joseph fell through the window, the mob rushed back downstairs to see if he were dead. Willard Richards, who had not been hit at all, had been standing in this position, so when the door was forced open, he was back here, and he received no wounds at all. So when he saw his beloved prophet lying dead down there, and the Hiram Smith dead on the floor, and John Taylor severely wounded under the bed, he decided to leave the room. He started to go. John Taylor called out, "Take me with you." He came back, lifted the badly wounded John Taylor in his arms, took him back into one of those cells, covered him with an old mattress, knowing the mob would return. The mob did start back up the stairs to finish their bloody work when someone on the outside shouted, "The Mormons are coming." And with that, the mob turned and fled. Now we know that the prophet Joseph Smith sealed his testimony with his blood, and his enemies thought that would be the end of his work. But they did not know that he, like our Savior, had apostles chosen and commissioned to carry on his work.
Want me to take it?
Done it before.
I could drive for a while if you want me to, so you can film all you want. Got all these bugs hitting our windshield. We think we know those. Out there. I was wondering if anybody ever dared go out there. Look at all the bugs over that door.
Ew,
This place
gross.
is bug-ridden. Swampland. I guess it's like a swamp, huh?
Oh, sure. Hi, Daddy. Hi,
Illinois, as part of our segment on historical landmarks. You know most of the other more exciting landmarks, so we thought we'd show you the unique perspective of Nauvoo, Illinois. Here we have the Nauvoo Christian Visitor Center. We have no idea what's in there, but some people have given us some ideas. For instance, some of the swords and muskets used to drive the Mormons out of Nauvoo, something I'm sure they're very proud of. Stay tuned for our next stop here in Nauvoo. This here is Nauvoo Tower, erected for Joseph Smith in the year 1849, only 4 years after his death. Of course, some other Christians have started rumors that it's simply a water tower, but we know better. Here in this campsite, the first Mormons saw the mob coming to Nauvoo while cooking marshmallows here. This paper, though decayed over the centuries, is still here as a reminder of the last news read before the cartilage and the bloody stuff began. Maybe they were reading this page here. Cottage cheese, 89 cents, 24 ounces. It's not pretty, but it's part of... I'm here in the middle of this cornfield in Nauvoo, where the said salamander, made so famous in the latest Hoffman bombing, was said to live. Also, this cornfield is quite historic. This is where the new film, Children of the Lesser Cornfield, will be shot later next summer. Another historical point that may be overlooked, but it's part of Nauvoo's history.
By the fence. Not bad.
Okay, it's just us. No kids. We're all gone.
Oh,
The camera's not still on, is it? Oh, I'm just gonna start talking about Kelly's kids. Good. You guys are warming. I'll just turn this thing off here and wait. That's the Mississippi River behind me. Most people come to Nauvoo, completely miss the river. A definite must-see when you come here to Nauvoo. As heaven knows, there isn't much else in the town. The river Can't miss it. Kind of west of Nauvoo, the Mississippi.
Building. These are the original beams and everything. Now the print shop, that had deteriorated. That was the last building built. It deteriorated right down to nothing. It was the only thing that was there was a foundation. So when they come back to restore it, they had to go from the foundation up on that building. These two other buildings were fairly good. This one was in nice shape, where the roof was good. It was never vandalized, or the windows were all intact, and it was nice.
Those are original windows.
Well, they're not the original windows. Somebody took them out and they got tired of looking through them. But
Yeah.
they imported, these,
Same type of glass.
yeah, the German quartz glass. Okay, any questions? Do you recognize those as behinds?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
that's the original behind.
There's your corn shower. We heard you explain those two things, and we've seen this done before.
And this was a rope maker. This, they made rope out of baling twine. Now, we don't have enough people to make rope. Or we can give you some pieces if you want, or we could, but you gotta put the kids all down, and it takes a lot of people to make the rope.
I forget it. We don't have the patience.
We're at the end
Our
of
patience
the
is
day.
more rough-in right now.
Toward the end of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
In
In a couple of years, they'll be grown up, and then, yeah. and then-
I was just telling my sister today, when our main mission in life is over and our kids are gone, we'll come back and enjoy ourselves. To a home that we have.
Jill, do you want a piece of
Thank you.
Okay,
Want
have
a
a
piece
good
of
day.
rope? She's gonna
Got a
have
piece
a
of rope that we
rope.
made here?
Hey, don't take that home, dear.
Hey, Jill, put that back.
John?
Is the Spanish Park.
Oh.
Oh, that's close, that's the park.
Is this a one-story building?
No, the center part's got a story upstairs. Brigham Young moved up here in the summer of 1839 from Missouri, and he settled across the river over here at Montrose, Iowa, in an old abandoned army barracks. This time there was only 6 buildings in this town. And then in September of the same year, he went to England on a proselyting mission. And while he was gone, his wife, Mary Ann, bought this property here. Now Brigham returned in the summer of 1841. He found him living in an unfinished log house on an acre of rather swampy ground. So he finished the house, he drained the land, and he built a cellar on top of the ground. Now 2 years later, in fact 31 May 1843, he moved into his new home. This is the day before he was 42 years old. And
How
he
long
was,
did it take him to do that? When he came home, how long?
well, he didn't get it built until about 2 years later.
Oh.
But that doesn't mean he's not busy. Now, when he returned from England, he's a senior member of the Quorum of 12. He's elected to the city council, and he meets with the prophet quite often. So he's a very busy man, but still, these things don't pay him any money. So he builds homes for other people then. Then in the meantime, he's working on this house too. White pine and Brigham graded to make it look like oak. Now, the seats in the tabernacle, they're done the same way. Now,
Why is it because oak was, pine was a lot easier to get at the time?
well, oak is hard to work with. There were plenty of hardwood here, but there were no softwood like pine. And there was a small Mormon colony up in the West Hudson Territory on the Black River that had a sawmill. They bought then it was real easy to work with what tools they had today. Then it's easy work with this here softwood, but you still find the trim inside of the house of softwood. But you've heard a lot of Brigham Jr.
They don't know what happened?
Yeah.
What she did?
She died of a scarlet fever. These dishes here were found in a well out here. There were two archaeologists here from Brigham Young University. They dug up this one. These were in the bottom. Brigham Young brought these back from England in the summer of 1841. They're pearl stone. They're quite heavy. So,
Probably was hiding them.
right, it's just too heavy to put in this little wagon to go west. So they, two of the quorum of 12 was in the jail down there with Joseph and Hiram Smith. The rest were on the East Coast with Brigham Young. And Mary Ann, Brigham's wife, wrote him a letter to tell him what had happened here. And this is a copy of her original letter. And I have it typed off here that if you have time, then I'll just read it to you. It was 27th of June, 1844, when Joseph Smith was shot. She dated this Nauvoo, June the 30th, 1844. My dear companion, I sat down to communicate a few lines to you at this time. My heart is full. I know not what to write to comfort you at this time. We have had great afflictions in this place since you left home. I suspect you will have the particulars from this letter. I wrote a letter to send to you. It was in the house 3 weeks without any chance of sending it. The mail has been stopped from the east. It is paid by the bomb. It has not been in but was for 3 or 4 weeks. I wrote an addition to the letter and sent it out with P.H. Young a few days since. That would have been Phineas. I hope you will get it. You have now been gone almost 6 weeks. I have not had a line from you since you left home. I have not time to write much now. We're in great afflictions at this time. Our dear brother Joseph Smith and Hiram has fell victims to a voracious mob. The great God of the creation only knows whether the rest shall be preserved in safety or not. We're in tolerable good health at present. I have been blessed to keep my feelings quite calm through all the storm. I hope you will be careful on the way home and not expose yourself to those that would endanger your life. Yours in haste, if we meet no more in this world, may we meet for parting is no more. Farewell, Mary Ann Young to be young. But this will give you an idea of the feelings of the people. Now the brick that they needed to replace brick there and these two other buildings, they made here at Nauvoo out of the same type of clay, so they pretty well match. Now this wooden structure over here where the kids are, this is on the top of a stone-lined pit where they collected rainwater from the family wash.
Jill,
Don't play with it.
it's very old. Don't play with it. It might break.
Down here is this well that they found the dishes in.
Let's go look over the well.
1975. But from 2 trees out here, they could date this picture. They could say that this picture was taken in the year of 1875. The well wasn't here at that time.
No.
And this is his cellar.
Jennifer. No. Aaron? That is cellar.
What's he doing here?
This is where he stored all of his food to keep it fresh, like potatoes and onions and apples.
This floor is the only thing original. Brigham Young laid these brick here. All the exception that corner over there, they had to do a little work over there. And this was found under about a foot of soil, but they knew pretty well where to look for it, because he had written quite a bit about this cellar.